Iori, I have one final request. Please, my friend, cook. Cook them all. What's up, guys? All here, and here we are to do a breakdown slash live review reaction to chapter 233 of Loco, which is known as Key. And now, I'm something of a key maker myself, you know. I mean, not key maker, I'm a key collector. But let's not waste any more time and let's hop right into chapter 233. Editing me. Ready? 3, 2, 1, go. What's up, guys? Lego Pencil here. Fun fact, I have it on me, and I keep it on me at all times. Another fun fact, do I remove you? I won't remove you, because you already fallen, and that scares me. But regardless, what's up, guys? Lego Pencil here, and I heard some devious things about this chapter, so I'm getting a little bit devious myself. And since I'm feeling so devious, and since this is Peak Lock, aka, what's it called? Peak every week. Oh, yeah, we pre-draw. Don't she look purdy? I've still yet to polish her. I will polish her soon enough. I'm sorry I keep doing you like this. Go back. But, of course, once again, maybe, just maybe, by an anti-miracle, a theorical, if you will, I'm not sure if that's even a word, probably isn't, maybe Blue Lock won't be peak. And if so, I will do an Irish jig. But let's not waste any more time, and let's hop right into it. So we're flashbacking. All right. Are you okay, yo? This is your precious leg. Is it broken? I mean, kinda. I'm not sure. Once again, personally, I am not a parent yet. I am not. But I have taken care of children before, and if you have taken care of children before, you know children are very, very reckless. And thusly, even children of like age 10 are very, very reckless. They don't seem to have much concept of their physical self. Heck, I remember not having much concept of my physical self. So I don't blame them for being reckless. But that kind of concern, it sounds nice. But knowing the context behind this character and why he's asking that makes it sad. Like I've seen and helped people or even children who have been hurt before, and it's like, oh, your concern goes through the roof. But knowing this isn't a concern out of like love or care or like general human goodness, and knowing this is a concern born of the fact that this is their ticket to fame, their ticket to first place as people who are always in second place. Whew, it's sad. And once again, looking at him, dude, are you sure you're the dad? Are you sure? Are you really sure? Like, no, don't get me wrong. I've met people, like, notably, for the longest time, I didn't look like either of my, but then again, no, he very specifically looked like his mom. So this isn't specific to me, but that guy with the pencil, for the longest time, did not actually look like that dad with the pencil or that mom with the pencil. I just didn't look like them. But then recently, not even recently, I can't say recently anymore. For the past 10 years or so, I've looked a lot like that mom with the pencil, ironically enough, just like Hiyori. But you can still see a lot of influences of my dad within me, based on, like, physical appearance and stuff like that. So there's still things that, like, tie me to my father. I don't know about Hiyori, though. I see none of this man in you. None of them. None of them at all. Are you sure, Mr. Number 2, that Mrs. Number 2 didn't go get her a Mr. Number 1 to create Mr. Hiyori? Yeah. But obviously, you know, that's dark. That's awful. There's no way she could do that. It's not like these people are set up to be terrible human beings. But I don't think Nomura nor Kaneshiro Sensei are remotely implying that, but maybe they are. But let's see. I can't believe this. Do you know how much time, money we... And there it is. There, I didn't even have to go that far. I was just going off the dad's first line because it reminded me of things that I've said before. There it is. Hello, Mr. and Mrs. Yo. We have a discussion in the back. No, okay, obviously. I'm not like that. But, dog, do you know how much time and money we invested into you? Dog. Like, luckily enough, I grew up in a very loving household. You don't get on the internet and talk about your anime and manga opinions unless you grew up in a very nice and loving household. But, with that being the case, I can't imagine. I cannot imagine hearing my own... anyone really, like, maybe a company that I work for. Maybe I could hear them. Then again, in what, I guess, like, I would have to break my hands or lose my voice or something very particular, or be in the chance of losing my hands or losing my voice. for like a company to be able to say this to me and me not react with like absolute internal despair. Like, dog, this is not a company, even though they're treating it like one. This is not Hiyori's not a stock. He's a child. And not just any child, he's their child. Like, you made him. What do you mean all the time and money you invested? I mean, in the literal sense, they're correct, right? Like, obviously they invested a lot of money and time in Hiyori. But like, dog, you're assuming that your child has just broken their leg. And your first response is to think about the bread. Like, I don't know. I know hospitals are expensive nowadays, dog, but really? Really? And that's the first thing you're worried about? That's sad. That is... I don't know what it is. Something about Ubers has Kaneshiro Sensei in the depressing bag. Like, I have no idea why everyone's backstory is so sad. Everyone who's gotten an elaborated backstory in this little short arc, in the Ubers arc, I guess you could call it that, in the Grand Neo Equatus League arc, the Ubers arc is what I would call this last 20 or so chapters. Everyone who's had a backstory has had a super depressing one. Hiyori, obviously, sure, is it not that physically depressing? Yes, but mentally it's tragic. I can't imagine how Hiyori functions. Snuffy. Do I need to explain to you why Snuffy's backstory is sad? Like, sure, nothing bad physically happened to him, but mentally it likely took a massive toll on him, as what happened to Snuffy would have a massive toll on anybody. And finally, Lorenzo literally grew up in the streets, abandoned by his parents. Like, why? Like, it genuinely makes me wonder about what are we doing in PXG? Like, backstory, what are we doing in PXG? Because we've been on espresso depresso mode for a while now. Like, let me think. I mean, Barsha didn't really have any backstory. Like, being real with you, Barsha didn't have anything. Otoya and Bachira's backstory, well, Otoya's backstory never mattered. And Bachira, we already got his backstory. So even though it is a somewhat sad one, that's way back when in second selection. Second selection. Then Otoya didn't matter. The one guy on the team didn't matter. Even the master, I'm forgetting his name right now, Lavahino, he didn't get a backstory. At least not one. If he did get a backstory outside that one panel of him explaining his football style, I don't remember it. It was that irrelevant. And I genuinely just don't think he did. Chris Prince didn't get a backstory. And unfortunately for, I guess, the entirety of the Manshine game, there was no real room for backstories outside of Agi, but Agi was never important enough of a character to get a backstory. Agi, unfortunately, was not another new Gen 11 player. He was just a dude. And that's like, he wasn't going to get a backstory. And every other character's backstory of the Blue Lockers that were important on that team, aka Chigiri, Nagi, and Reo, already had their backstories explained. And 2/3 of that backstory isn't even really that sad. So, I don't know, maybe that's why Kaneshiro Sensei is on this negativity kick, because I can't think of any other reason why we have been in such like an extended stoop of darkness. Like, it feels like kind of just letting something out. I mean, don't get me wrong, it's making great characters. Lorenzo, he's a little iffy in my book, but he's still probably a top 20 character for me now, if not, okay, I can't say top 15. I really like a lot of Blue Lock characters. But, and then Snuffy's in my top 10. And Hiyori's in my top 10. Like, already. And Hiyori has not done much. And to be fair, I mean, Snuffy didn't do much either. Like, in terms of just raw feats or anything crazy. Like, he doesn't have a crazy goal to his name. And even his assist isn't really that crazy. I mean, sure, he held off Noel Noah, but like, it's nothing too insane. But that's crazy. Those characters are in my top 10 solely off their backstories and their character writing. And here we are with Hiyori. At that moment, I realized my parents didn't love me. That is... And you gotta imagine, how old is he right now? Is he like 10? Like, I once again, I am no child psychologist. I'm no psychologist at all. My friends come to me for advice, but trust me, I am no psychologist. But I can't imagine that learning such a thing at such a young... Well, you're learning such a thing ever. Like, even say you were like 25 and you learned that your parents didn't love you, probably wouldn't have the best mental effect on you. But at least by then, you've gotten through a majority of your development. Like, I know that's a disproved rumor. Like, the human brain doesn't actually fully, like, wake up and form at, like, 25 or 26. But, like, you've gone through 25 years of your life. In our current life expectancy, that's a little over... What's the average life expectancy? Isn't it, like, 80? That's about a little over a fourth of your life. You're a few years out of college at that point, if you chose to go to college, or even if you didn't go to college, you're a few years into adult living. 7. So you've had a lot of time to establish your own personality and thoughts based on the assumptions that your parents did care for you. And thusly, you'd probably be a well-adjusted individual even if your parents suddenly revealed that they didn't love you, directly or indirectly. But Hiyori is a child. He's had to grow up to what his current age is, like 16, 17. How old is Hiyori? I got the Googler on me. Let me double check. I think Hiyori is just in like the worst period, and he's been living with this realization for how long? Let's take a look. Take a look at the Googler. Hiyori, maybe they don't have the biographical data on him, but I do think they do, because like Hyojin got biographical data on him relatively quickly, and Hiyori's already been shown in the anime, so luckily we have some details. So he's 17. He looks about 10 in this image, I'd say. For 7 years, he's had to live in a household that had 2 people that didn't care about him, that did not love him, only saw him and stayed together under the value that he brought through manifesting skill. That's awful. Let's see. All they cared about was my specs. Treated bro like a PC. That's crazy. Your own parents, dog? Hold on, let's see. Seeing the intense battle around him, Hiyori reignites his passion for football. Oh, spoilers. As he tried to live up to Usagi's expectations, how will Hiyori view his past self, who hated the expectations his overbearing parents forced on him? That's actually an interesting perspective. Because that is true. Both Isagi and Yo's parents forced, or are forcing, their beliefs, ideologies, and dreams into him. But let's see how it works for Hiyori and the difference between Isagi and his parents. I can already take a pretty solid guess, but I'll hold on my guess because I'm assuming it's going to be revealed by the end of this chapter. But let's see. Ever since that day, my passion and attitude for football. Before, I only played football because it made my parents happy. But now, I only play football because I don't want to break up my family. Dog. That's... Oh... Once again, I was blessed enough to live in a good household. But, fun fact, I held myself to a pretty high standard. And not for the fear of my parents splitting or anything like that, but simply because I held myself to a high standard. I can't imagine living your entire life, dedicating hours upon hours of physically grueling training simply to make it so that your family can perpetuate itself under something that you do not care for personally. Your passion lies elsewhere, but simply because you wish to do what you think is right, you are forced into a scenario where you cannot be what you want to be for years on end. Wow. It's such a disgusting, pathetic reason. And honestly, I mean, I can see why he sees it that way, right? Because it's essentially him admitting that he's too scared. Well, at least if I had to rationalize it how yours rationalizing, I see that as an extremely brave and extremely powerful decision to make for oneself in order to maintain something that you believe is important. And obviously, once again, all the grueling hours and training and all that stuff, that it's not going to waste. He already became an extremely good soccer player, worthy enough that he was ranked worthy enough to join Blue Lock. And sure, Igaguri was ranked worthy to join Blue Lock, but we don't talk about Igaguri because he's whack. So Hiyori was Himothy. Heck, he even proved essential within the U20 game that decided the fate of Japan's soccer team and soccer future. He's integral to that. So obviously he became a powerful individual, and that's not to be discounted. But I can see why he, someone who would desire something more, yet is afraid of losing the admittedly unhealthy but stable background that he has, the stable backing of his family. I see why he sees it as a disgusting, pathetic reason, because for him, it is. It's sad that he simply perpetuates himself on the notion of perpetuating something that doesn't even care about him. And for no benefit other than that perpetuation. Like, notably, when you work for a company, or like, I feel like everyone's done it once before. Everyone's worked a job they have not liked. If you haven't, you will. Well, actually, no, you don't. You will. You won't. You don't have to. You don't have to. You can work well enough, work smart enough, work hard enough that you can put yourself in a position where you never have to work a job you don't like. So, no, let me not even speak that into existence. It is very possible that you can work yourself into a job that you enjoy. Heck, I work a job that I enjoy on multiple fronts. My actual full-time job, and then this job that I do. But even then, it's weird. I can't call YouTube a job. I just do I do it for fun. But with that being the case, that comes with benefits, at least for a real proper job. Your point there is to perpetuate the company, whether that be through assisting customers or doing general work or organizing or running numbers in the background. Like, one way or another, your goal is to perpetuate the company in some way, shape, or form. But that company at least gives you something in return. Outside of its continuous perpetuation, it pays you. Does it pay a fair wage? Depends. But it pays you. It gives you something on top of the company's perpetuation. The only thing Hiyori's gotten out of this twisted, sick dynamic is not even love, not even real care, just the fact that his family's still around and not broken up. That's sad. And honestly, it's impressive that Hiyori's been able to do it this hard, this well, and this long at all. It's crazy. But let's see. I know my attitude towards football is pathetic, but I don't have anything else I can fully devote myself to. I begin to coast through life, trying to find something that could ignite my passion. And that's, once again, I can understand that. I've met a couple people in my day. Not that many people. I'm not one of the most worldly people ever. Trust me, far from it. But I've met people who are like Hiyori, who are doing something because they were told to do it, because it will reward them in the long run, or it does something for them in the now that is required for the long run, or something or some way, shape, or form. And they do it. They get the good grades. They go get the job. They go to get a degree. They do all that, but they don't really care about it. And thusly, it leaves their life feeling empty. And I've known those people in a similar vein to Hiyori who have gone out and tried to find their passions. And honestly, I don't blame people for being like that. It's difficult to find something you care about because sometimes you don't know what you do. I think. What's an example for me? Like, notably, from a young age, I've always liked to draw. I've been that guy with a pencil since I was that boy with a pencil. Ever since I could pick up a pencil and had some sort of surface, I can't even say a piece of paper, I was like, yeah! And I drew, even if it looked like garbage and probably doesn't look that much better to this day. And the same thing for speaking. I love to talk. If you couldn't tell, I can't sit here and record every day and post every day and do all this if I didn't like to talk and enjoy and extrapolate my ideas. But that's a passion that I found naturally because I was left in an environment where I could do that. But when you are someone like Hiyori, or in someone like any situation where no one is able to facilitate that passion for you, or you're not in an area that allows that passion to thrive, foster, or even grow itself, then you're stuck in this perpetual loop where you want to explore, but you know you can't fully go out and explore because you have a job to do. And it's unfortunate, but hopefully Hiyori can find something that will give him purpose. Let's see. Boring. All that nonsense about people's expectations. Think about that later. Start with yourself. Believe in yourself. This is a match I'm very interested to see in PXG. I'm interested. I mean, I'm wiggling my feet. PXG is setting up to be one of, if not dare I say, the most story character heavy game in the entire series. And you may be wondering, no, hold on a second, Pencilman, what do you mean? But think about it relatively. As much as I love the U20 game, and as much as I can still say overall it is the best back-to-back bar-for-bar game in the series up to this point, the big issue with the U20 match is that it had to do a lot of work establishing characters on the fly. Sei Itoshi was at least introduced earlier on to the narrative and has some tying into Rin Itoshi. So luckily enough, there was some sort of dynamic there that had been set up that we could explore, which the U20 game went out of its way to do. And that's it. So it was the only established character before the start of the U20 game. And then you got a little whiff of Aiku, but even then Aiku's true nature, his true depth that makes him a very lovable character, doesn't actually get revealed to the midst of the U20 game. That's just not it. And naturally, due to the fact that it's the U20, and outside of Sei, no one really knew anything about the U20, at least for the Blue Lockers case, there's very little emotional investment on a character level going into that match. There are no interesting dynamics you're looking for outside of Rin and Sei. That's all you're going in for. Sure, you can think of Aiku versus some characters based on the little we got of them, but still, that's not that much. Meanwhile, for PXG, you have a bunch of dynamics being set up, specifically in opposing roles. Obviously, you have Kunigami and Shido. That's one of the biggest things everyone's been waiting for, especially since Wildcard Kunigami, at least from my pulse on the fandom, has been at best a mixed bag, or at worst a waste of a character, considering a lot of people either A, don't like his poaching style, or B, think obviously he's just been wasted. And I'm admittedly leaning more into the B, because I kind of like the poaching style. I ain't gonna lie to you. I think it's kind of neat. I think it's kind of cool to have a striker like that. But with that being the case, Kunigami versus Shido has been set up for over 100 chapters now. Obviously, everyone and their mama's looking for that rematch. For the main one, you know what we're looking for. We're looking for Isagi versus Rin. The ultimate run back of all run backs. If Rin got dubs, Isagi got dubs, or Rin got dubs, Isagi got dubs. We are waiting for the ultimate clash and conclusion, especially considering after this point, it's highly unlikely we're ever going to see those two on opposing teams again. At best, they're going to be competing on the same side in a similar vein to Isagi and Kaiser. This, unless there's another training arc after the Neo Egotist League and the start of the U20 World Cup, which is immediately following the Neo Egotist League, there's no other scenario where we're going to directly see Rin versus Isagi, where we're directly going to see Kunigami versus Shido, where we're directly going to see even more matchups like this one being set up right here, Karasu versus Hiyori. This is another one that's been set up recently in Hiyori's backstory, but even still, just that little bit of setup gives us another thing to get invested for the PXG game. That's 3 major character dynamics. Admittedly, I'd say 2 major ones in Kunigami and Shido, and Rin and Isagi. And then a lesser one, just because of how recent it is, Karasu and Hiyori, but still, it's major enough that it's something that I'm looking forward to. And really, that's it. Like, there's really no other rivals that are set up between the two. They're just interesting side characters, like seeing Tokimitsu after 100 chapters, or seeing Zantetsu after like 150 chapters. Like, obviously, these characters people are still excited for to see, but they don't necessarily have any direct parallels. You could argue maybe Yuki Maya and Zantetsu, but the two never interacted. And Tokimitsu doesn't really have a comparable at all on PXG, except for maybe Kunigami, but obviously Kunigami versus Shido is the main thing that we're going to be looking at that match. So, PXG has 3 major setup bars on previously established things within the narrative, and then some pseudo setup bars with Kaiser versus Rin, you know, we got to see that. Kaiser versus Loki, you know, we got to see that. Loki versus Isagi, you know, we got to see that. There's a bunch of stuff that's still set up in the mix with PXG, which is why I'm super duper excited for the game. Though, admittedly, I'm not trying to rush Uber's to end. As much as a lot of people are like, end Uber's end, we're getting a lot of the extended game fatigue that started to happen at the end of Manshine. I don't know. I like it. There are some chapters that kind of push it, like chapter 231. Was kind of pushing it. And that felt like darn near a waste of a week, because it felt like there was very little character stuff in there, or at least character stuff that could have been handled in a much more efficient manner. But this kind of character stuff I like. This sort of elaboration and expansion on the characters, and the recollection and expansion on their backstories and their new beliefs. Quality stuff. But let's see. Find something that truly gets your blood pumping. If you don't start there, you're going to run in circles. There. The crow guiding the zombie? What would Hiyori's ego be? I don't know. Karasu's called the crow, because I think Karasu literally means crow, I think. But I wouldn't be sure what to classify Hiyori's ego as, considering it hasn't even really been born yet. So let's see. It's impossible. Because for me, things like expectations are just curses. The chains weigh me down. I want to get away from my parents, to get out of that house. That's interesting. How do I view expectations? Once again, luckily enough, I was born in a household where all the expectations, they came from this guy right here. They came from me. Like, legitimately, I think the only expectations, I specifically remember this, my parents always used to say this when I was younger. Pencil, the only expectations we have for you is to stay out of trouble and pass your classes. But me, I was like, I can do that. And I can also do well. And then that is what guided me. My expectations were chains essentially placed on myself willingly. And I don't think those were ever weighing. If they were weighing me down, they're weighing me down in terms of making me better. And that's something that I like to do. So that was all on me. I'm never going to be able to blame my parents for that. That was your boy. But for Hiyori, yeah, I understand why expectations, specifically the ones he's had on him for his entire life, are chains, curses weighing him down, because he can't escape them. These are literally his parents. They are literally his livelihood. And unfortunately, there's no other way to get around that. But then Blue Lock came in, and let's see how that affects Hiyori. I came to Blue Lock solely for that reason. Boom! Ooh, interesting. Why is he called the Oni? That's weird. Why is he called Oni there? It's not Yo, and it's not Hiyori. Why is he called an Oni? Yo, why is he called a demon? Yo, what's Hiyori? What you cooking, dog? You the demon of wherever you came from? Let's see. Yo, put those dogs away. Hiyori, please. Not in public. Put them away. I get it. I know. Their dogs are always out, but put the dogs away. Do I recognize any of these characters? That looks like a knockoff Isagi. That's the only one I recognize. And he looks familiar, too. That looks like Naruhaya, but this is obviously not Naruhaya. I have no idea who that guy is. But all right, the Oni kicks, strikes another guy out. I don't want to go home. I don't want to go home. Once again, he's been perpetuating himself off of fear. And you know what? I'll admit, this is a weird thing to say. Fear can be a good motivator. Or I guess not even... Fear of failure can be a good motivator. You, at least for someone like me and the kind of people that I know, the fear of failure has gotten us places. Places that we wouldn't have been if we did not have that fear of failure. But I can imagine when it's not enforced by yourself, when that fear is truly something that matters deeply and will have tangible impacts on your life, it can have this negative, dark effect, clinging desperately to that ego. I managed to hang on and survive. Interesting. So, yep, first introduction to Hiyori, or first major introduction. I believe we see him earlier in the series before third selection, but in third selection with Nanase. Oh, that's another one that's kind of set up. Nanase's on PXG. I wonder if he's going to play, though. That's an interesting thing. Nanase's also a thing, but I don't know. He doesn't have any, like, rivalry specific. Once again, Hiyori, and Isagi were just a bunch of nice dudes off the field. Isagi on the field, not sure if you can say he's a nice dude. But I managed to hang on and survive. Okay, yep. So third selection, U20 match. Third selection again with the reveal of, I guess it was Metavision at the time, but a pseudo flow, and then Hiyori's engagement in the game itself. Ubers are playing. No! Stop the counter! Raichi. My boy, I don't know why I keep drawing. Look at this. Look at this back. This is meant to be for one joke. I keep drawing it. It's bad habit. It's bad habit. Get your behind right over there. But with that being the case, right, bro, aren't you the CDM? Aren't you the center defensive midfielder? You get in there and stop it. You stop the counter, bro. You get in the way. That's your job. Snuffy is off the field, but obviously, you know, I can see Raichi. Raichi's trying to stop Sendo. Let's see. So fast. At an incredible level. That boy Bar. This is, in this one game, Baro has likely passed more than he's passed in the entire series 3 times over. Because how many times has Baro passed? Like, once in his first introduction, he passed to Isagi in second selection. I think that's it. Like, that's literally it. And I swear he's passed like 4 or 6 times in this singular game. Look at the Baro character development, bro. It's going crazy. Let's see. At an incredible level. Poor Mensa, bro. Why do I know his name? This is probably not even his name. I keep having this like shock realization that I'm actually learning the BM randoms, but I feel like I shouldn't. I need to lock them off because they won't be relevant. Maybe we'll see. The quality of the combination plays. I never experienced this before, and the fact that Baro-kun can get the best out of them, a king-like move. That's interesting. I don't know. I'm trying to think. Sorry, I use Blue Lock to reference a lot to myself because it's sports. And like, unlike the mystical, magical mangas that I usually talk about, I can relate to sports because I grew up playing sports. Typically, I wouldn't say like kings ever brought the best out of me, whether it be in gym sports, rec sports, or even the sports I played for the school. I think it was realistically rivals, or like people I didn't consider a king, but people I considered my equal. That, especially, I think back to when I did track and field. It was the 3 guys three individuals that pushed me to go my hardest and fight the hardest I could. Sure, there are the people above me, but no, three people who were my peers in speed. When I was running as fast as I could, those are what pushed me the most. I guess you could argue the kings, hypothetically, the fastest people were also motivating me, but it was really the people who were my peers that brought the best out of me. Because it would take everything in my power to surpass them, to surpass my current existing level and reach higher. A certain, like, I think in my opinion, an overwhelming challenge sort of causes the apathy in my mind. Like, Ego even mentions it when he's talking about flow. The idea that if something's too challenging or like not impossible, it kind of just zones me out. That's what happens to me. Like, what's an example? Okay, this is gonna be super. When fifth grade pencil was playing dodgeball and the gym teacher joined the other team, I kind of gave up. Fifth grade pencil and all his other fifth grade comrades were not beating the gym teacher. It was simple as that. So that kind of caused apathy to me. But it's interesting that Hiyori is the kind of individual that when seeing a higher challenge, a higher specs, it actually involves him in. Like, notably, I'm a guy who likes difficulty. Like, I play now pretty much all the games I buy on hard mode from the start. I even play Fire Emblem Engage on hard mode. That was my first hard mode experience with any Fire Emblem game. And obviously, I play Kingdom Hearts every single time I can on the hardest difficulty, whether that be Proud for KH1 and then Initial KH3, or Critical for everything except for KH1, and Chain of Memories. Birth by Sleep has Critical, and so does. Then again, Birth by Sleep was also, not Birth by Sleep, Dream Drop Distance was also Proud mode, because Critical mode unlocked after you beat the game, which was still counterintuitive to me. I don't know. I don't replay games. That's a lie. I replay Kingdom Hearts 2 all the time. But games that I'm not omega fond of, I don't replay all that often, so I never got the appeal of hiding critical mode behind beating the game. Like, man, why? But with that being the case, I do like challenge, but it's the overwhelming challenge that gets me. So I guess that goes to show that maybe Hiyori is like me. He sees this overwhelming level, this king-like move, and he sees himself more a rook or a knight or a bishop instead of a pawn. Something that can be valuable against something the level of the king. Or instead, I'd say in this case scenario, if we're going with the chess analogy, Barrow's more like a queen. Because he's overwhelmingly powerful in facilitating the moves of everybody else. And once again, for the chess reference and metaphor, I play chess. I do like playing chess. Not the best at it. But usually the best games I have, especially against my one friend, is when I can use the queen optimally. If I can use the queen optimally, I can get it out from its back line and just start going crazy all over the field, on my side, on their side. That's when I feel the most optimal and the most active. And that's when I feel like I can use my other pieces to the best. Because once you start getting dominant with the queen, and your attention is focused on that, especially in time games. Like, now we usually play 10-minute, 15-minute games. If we're feeling devious, 5-minute games. If we're feeling extra devious, 1-minute games. Then their attention is always diverted to them. That allows the other pieces to be used in ways. Like, I've gotten sneaky wins off with rooks, knights, bishops, even the occasional, okay, I can't say the pawn. Never done it with the pawn. But like, those other pieces get to supplement in different ways because I've utilized the queen properly in this dominant fashion that Hiyori mentions here. So maybe Hiyori is just like me, for real. But let's see. But it's not like he's moving selfishly. I love that statement, but it's not like he's moving selfishly. Look at this face, bro. How caring does that face look? Baro-kun, even though he's a selfish jerk. Okay, the narrative still acknowledges it. They're slopping off Baro, but they know who he is. Even though he's a selfish jerk, the aura he emanates make people trust him and follow him. So what is that face? Lorenzo, please, bro, please. I cannot take you seriously, dog. Lorenzo, please, bro, I'm begging you. Like, I'm not sure what I should say to Lorenzo. Lock in? He seems locked in, but look at this face, bro. This is why he'll never be a top 10 or top 15 character for me. Even with one of the most fire and sad and depressing backstories in the entire series. Look at this man. He looks unhinged. I could never trust him. I wouldn't want to, speaking of helping kids out and leaving kids around, would never leave a child alone on the Lorenzo. Look at this. Got me slurring my words. I would never leave a child around Lorenzo. He looks like a threat. Aiku, handsome as always. Nico, that's my son. But let's see. Makes people trust and follow him. That's once again, I'm very interested to see how the U20 games are going to play out, the U20 World Cup games. Because who's going to be the striker? And is Say going to play? Because here's the thing. Obviously, since I'm a big Blue Lock guy, every single one of my content feeds, whether it be YouTube or TikTok or Instagram, all of them are consistently filled with a lot of JJK and a lot of Fortnites, but a lot of Blue Lock stuff too. And with that being the case, like I constantly see these team lineups, and the ever-present debate is who's the striker. Because is Baro going to be able to unite people like Isagi beneath him, people like Rin, people like Shido, like even people like Bachira and Nagi and Reo? Like, no offense to Aiku or Nico, because Lorenzo's not going to matter after this game. Oh, well, he may be an enemy, but he's not going to matter after this game for the U20. Like, no offense, but Nico was always subservient. That once again goes into the idea I mentioned about the Egoless League, where BM is the only team consistently moving forward, while other teams seem to be walking backwards into the past. Remember when Nico was first introduced, he was hiding behind a superior striker. Simple as that. He was hiding behind Ozawa, I do believe. Remember Aiku, he was simply following the lead of the others, or in the case that he thought or mentioned, his coach. Now he's back to doing that. No one else is like that in Blue Lock, at least not anymore. Like, Reo ain't built like that. Nagi maybe built like that now behind Reo. But, like, I don't think he's ever... Even Nagi has more than enough pride to never really submit to Baro. Heck, characters like Chigiri, characters like Bachira, characters like Isagi, characters like Rin. Like, I don't see them bowing to Baro. And ultimately, while I do get that maybe a character like Shido cannot be the striker unless that coordination he learned with Rin and PXG can carry over to the rest of the U20 team, I still think Baro, in the kind of game he facilitates, works best still as a Joker card, as a wild card that would kind of do its own thing, but he can't be the main striker. Baro kind of has to be the backup. He cannot be the lead because Blue Lock is unfortunately too ego-focused. It is a whole team that will be built up of want to be strikers. And I don't see anyone outside of these two, those who have given up on being a striker all entirely, pretty much sacrificed the idea of scoring goals to be subservient to him. I don't see anyone else doing that. But let's see. Players who become the world's #1 striker, they probably have the ability that makes people follow them. Amazing. I can't do that. An ego that teammates believe, trust, and gravitate towards. Hey, you'd be shocked. I didn't think, like... Fun fact, once again, if you're this late into a Blue Lock review, I feel like I can just casually chat with you. So, fun fact, for the longest time, I didn't think I could be a content creator on any platform. Like, not just a YouTuber, TikTok, anything, even all my artistic stuff, purely, I didn't think I could do any of that. I didn't think I'd have like kind of voice or personality or interest or talking points that anyone would rally behind. I'd be like, whatever. For the longest time, I was like that. But then I had a long conversation about the Akatsuki versus the Seven Deadly Sins with a guy going on, what? It's been like 3 years. I think it's been like 5 years. How old is that video? Oh Lord, how old is this channel? But like, I have over 1,000 videos up, and I've only consistently started uploading recently. Sweet Mother of Mercy, how old is this channel? But however many years ago that was, and that's what caused me down this path. So Yuri, don't count yourself out, bro. Don't count yourself out. You may have the potential, but obviously, because it's Isagi's story, he will not have the potential. But don't ever count yourself out. Don't ever believe that you won't be able to do something just because you haven't been able to do it just yet. Try it. The results may surprise you. Let's see. I'm going to be the world's best player. I never really cared about being #1. But then I saw him. A player who sees the game as I do. A player with his eyes set on being the world's best player. Yori's just like me, for real, for real. He is an Isagi Glazer. Yori, come dap me up, bro. Come dap me up. He's an Isagi Glazer. He's just like me, for real, for real. FR. We both be glazing, bro. Look at this. Look at the focus on this man's back. I have the key to Isagi Yoichi's evolution. Ooh. Ooh. You got the key? You sure you do? You sure you got the key? Because I got the key. I got the key right here. See where I dropped it and it shattered. So I'm gonna see if I can get some paint or something to seal that back up. Cause darn man, I'm so sad I dropped this. But like, Hiro, you got the key? I got the key. So do you got the key? Nah, but now let's do the ever delicate task of trying to place this thing back up. Because I cannot. This one I cannot keep in my lap. This is 120 centimeters, I do believe. So for my Americans out there, all 4 feet. Or nearly, it's about 4 feet, bar for bar, word for word. So it does take up space. It is very heavy. So I'm going to gently place it back and hope it stays there. Please do. You're scaring me. Okay, but you got the key? I got the key. Let's see. No, I'm the only one who can unlock his full potential. The Omega. Okay, but you know what I like? That's self-glaze too. That's self-glaze. You know what? I kind of respect that because you still got to have the self-confidence within yourself. Like, you can't just be able to glaze somebody else. You got to be able to glaze yourself well enough to know that, yo, wait, I can do this. That's nice. I like how he's seeing the potential in himself, even if indirectly. Because he doesn't say, I'm one of the only ones. He doesn't say people can unlock. No, he says, I'm the only one who can unlock his full potential. I'm the only one with the key. I like that. I like that. Little details like that. If it hadn't come to Blue Lock, none of this would have happened. True. The golden lucky opportunities that only I can see. They're my reason to fight. Intriguing. Those golden lucky opportunities that only I can see. The luck. Interesting that he considers himself a part of luck. But it's true. Isagi-kun has the potential to become the world's #1 striker. That's still, like, notably, as much as I love and glaze Isagi, I've yet to see the vision. I'll admit. Like, he has a lot of specs to clear. I get it, he's young. He's still 17. I don't believe human males stop growing to like the mid-20s. So, unfortunately, I stopped growing. I'm a solid 3 feet tall. But, with that being the case, I wonder how much more growth Isagi has. Or, like, when is he going to start to plateau? Because he's never going to get Kaiser impact. He's never going to be as good as Kaiser. He's never going to be as tall or as beefy as Baro, or as crazy with the traps as Nagi, or as dominant in the penalty box as Shido, or even as well-built biologically as Rin. So I'm very interested to see Isagi become #1. Let's say. But if we fail to capitalize on this golden opportunity, there's a good chance the world will forget about his potential. Okay. So this, once again, I sort of already believe that the end of 231 kind of, or no, the chapter where he already got brought into the game. I believe it's 231. I already believe that removed any chance of Uber's winning this game. But I also kind of hope that maybe Kunigami or even Kaiser would end up getting the final goal. But no, since Hiyori is fully dedicating himself to Isagi here, becoming his key, yeah, Isagi's got this one. Which, once again, makes sense. Don't get me wrong. I 100% buy that. Like, I've been peddling and pushing this narrative that Isagi and Kaiser's overall dynamic has been Isagi getting onto the field, beating Kaiser as a playmaker, beating Kaiser as a striker, and then working with Kaiser and PXG against the monsters that PXG will be. That has been my narrative. I've been pushing and peddling it for pretty much ever since, I'd say, Manshine ended. So, if I end up being right, I sure hope someone picks up that phone. But let's see. Ooh, let's see. A future where Isagi-kun dominates the world stage. That's a future worth living for. I'll make Isagi Yoichi the king. Yo! Never have I ever seen such exquisite meat riding outside of the Gojo fan base. And by the Gojo fan base, I mean me. Shout out once again. We built the same, bro. Look at this. He awakens Metavision to simply slop up Isagi better, bro. That's a level of determination I could never have. Like, darn, bro. You can see he's like almost like, especially with this eye and the mouth he makes here, it's almost like Rin levels of like he's about to start drooling everywhere. You know, he's slobbered on it. But let's see the field right now. We got Ness, we got Nico, that's Raichi and Lorenzo. So Hiyori, let's see you cook, dog. Let's see you cook. Okay, so let's see. Ness has the ball. Ball bounces. Ball bounces high. Here. Ooh. Lorenzo, put your tongue away, bro, please. Why is it so long? Why is it curling? Lorenzo, I'm begging you. I'm begging you. Heavens above, Lorenzo, please. Put the tongue away. Boom. Why is he like this? Why is he like that? He is crazy, don't get me wrong. I think Lorenzo literally is the best new Gen 111 player. Like, I used to glaze Kaiser insanely, but now I'm becoming a Lorenzo glazer. Like, I believe it goes, say, at the bottom, because he shows relativity in a similar state to, he shows relativity to his point in the narrative to the Blue Lockers, like Lorenzo and Kaiser are doing. But Lorenzo and Kaiser not only showed a level of superiority that, in my opinion, is fully Beyonce, but also they're scaling. Ironically enough, this is not a fighting manga, but their scaling is better. Like, scaling directly and casually above these post U20 Neo Aegis League trained players puts Lorenzo and Kaiser, since they have yet to sweat, since they've yet to fully try or go all out or run out of stamina, it puts them in a league above, a league of their own. So Lorenzo, he may just be number one. He's the only character in the series to react to and block a Kaiser impact. He's the only character in the series that's consistently shown to shut down Kaiser entirely. The only time Kaiser scored or even had a moment to breathe is when Lorenzo literally left him because Lorenzo had no other choice but to pick up the slack of his own team. Lorenzo's just crazy, but he's also just crazy and needs to put that tongue away. But let's see. Not a chance. Okay. Once again, Kaiser. I mean, maybe it's just because Nomura doesn't want to draw everybody with Metavision on all the time. But Kaiser, bro, you gotta vision it up, bro. Like, Isagi's had it running this entire time, but you're just chilling. Like, they not about to score the game-winning goal here. But let's see. Isagi and Kaiser. You fell for a little trap, Meta Synchro Twins. Uh-oh. Lorenzo? Bro doesn't even speak. Put that tongue away, dog. I'm shocked both of you fell for this, though. Like, y'all are telling me you did not pay attention to Baro? Isagi, I expect this from Kaiser. But, Isagi, you're better than this. No, in front of the penalty area. In front of the penalty area. Baro! No way. That's my boy. That's my... Hey, and isn't that revenge just like that? Like that. What? Because Baro came in and stopped Hiyori. So does Hiyori do come in the clutch and stop Baro? Yes, sir. Look at my boy. Look at my boy. Ah, he's glazing. Let's see. Idiots. I have Metavision too, you know. He has the DLC. Fun fact, he got the download. I love how Lorenzo was like, huh? Which is even crazier. If Lorenzo's just playing this good without Metavision, Lorenzo may be the strongest character that's not a world master that we see in the entire series. Like, he may just be that empathy. Like, you could definitely argue he's already that, and dare I say he is. But if he's been running around, because we've never seen him draw with Metavision, and we know Nomura is willing to draw Uber's characters and even new Gen 111 players with Metavision. So, like, if Lorenzo's been running around without Metavision this entire time and has still been this dominant, bro, it's insane. But let's see. Why you? My ego isn't something that's pre-planned for me. Yo? It's an ego that holds the key to the future. It's an ego I found for myself. Syncing up perfectly with Isagi's movements, Hiyori overcomes his past and forges himself a new ego. As he picks up Lorenzo's past, Hiyori prepares to make Isagi shine as king. Show us your winning formula, Egoless. Let's do this, Egoless. To be continued in chapter 234, producer. Boom, the chains are, and look at that. The key is the one ball that's been hanging him down. Yo. W chapter, y'all. W chapter. Obviously, I mean, do I have to go into it? I obviously love the further characterization for Hiyori. I can definitely see people chalking up this chapter as a waste because, like, oh, well, there's so much time spent on flashbacks, reminiscing. But, like, I think this is important. This is sort of the parallel to Chigiri's awakening, where we had a similar moment where the past needs to be reestablished so the contrast to the future is properly established. Once again, really, really like that. Obviously, I like seeing a little glimpse of Zero Selection. It's not even first. I call it Zero Selection. And seeing Hiyori cook at the beginning, seeing his desperation and seeing his awakening. Beautiful chapter. Once again, Hiyori's definitely within my top 10 now. One of my favorite characters that Kaneshiro Sensei and Nomura Sensei have managed to produce. And this overall is an amazing W chapter. However, that's what I think. Please know what you guys think in the comment section down below. Thank you guys so much for watching. Remember to like, share, comment, and subscribe. And make sure the notification bell so you do not miss out on any videos that come to the channel. Also, I do have a Patreon down below. You can for as low as $1 a month. Things like exclusive videos, early content, and more. You also now become a member of the channel for as low as $3 a month to get the same perks and more. Now, thank you guys so much for watching once again, and I hope you guys have a wonderful day. This is Dago the Pencil, writing off. I'd like to give a thank you to our $3 members, Recliner Plays and Red Wolf 4765. I'd like to give a very big thank you to our $5 patrons, Sean, Red Wolf 4765, Midnight Gem Lord, Kevin, and Demex LND. And a very big thank you to our $10 patrons, Robbie Uchiha, Idemokami, and Calvin Elder. And to give another very big thank you to our $25 member, Alex Ice Rose. And a very big thank you to our $25 patron, Ignew.